Hello, everyone, and welcome to Leadership Lunch Chat. I am here today with my friend Jen Wilson, and we are here to talk about what's on our minds and what's coming up a lot right now when we're out and about, and even in our own lives as well, is managing mental health. So, we thought, as people get busier and busier, even if you ever had a lull, it's really important to be thinking about this and being intentional about your mental health, with all the noise that is outside of work, inside of work, and just everyday demands that we all have with our personal lives and just trying to balance it all. And so, really to kick it off, I think it's important to be thinking about a plan, going into any busy time, because what happens is usually months after, busy season hits or busy times hit, people often will say, I gave up my exercise, I gave up my eating, I didn't have any time, I felt overwhelmed. And that is going to happen without a plan, without intention, and making sure that boundaries are still set no matter what time of year it is, that we have to really be intentional about setting those boundaries and what times are in the best place for what, so we can be present and be thinking about what's at hand versus getting distracted by too many things. So with that, Jen, do you want to get started with your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So if we're talking about mental health strategies, I think maybe we could think about it at two levels. And one is like the individual level, like I have to protect my mental health. I am responsible for it. Sometimes we can, take a little bit of a victim mentality. All this bad stuff's happening and it's impacting my mental health instead of what am I doing to protect my mental health, or so that's one way of looking at. So the individual strategies and then organizational strategies. I think if we could think a little bit about that as leaders, what are we as leaders doing to support mental health with our people and our teams and care about it and offer opportunities around it. So I'm going to start with the personal strategies, and one of mine, which is harder and harder to do, but back when my babies were little, my daughters, I discovered that I felt like I was getting pushed a lot of very bad news all the time.
Mhm.
And, 24-hour news was very, very much a thing back then. We didn't have as much push as we have on our handheld phones today, where we have like every search engine will push news to you if you don't watch it. And all your social media is pushing news. And I took a break from news and said, I'm going to do my best to avoid push news, and I'm going to use pull news. I'm going to go to reputable news sources that I think are balanced, and I'm going to, try to only get news when I'm in the frame to deal with it. It's harder when I use social media. It's harder to manage that, but that
Mhm.
is one strategy I do recommend to my kids and to their friends and to people who are overwhelmed. There's a lot of political news. Has been the election, of course, had tons of it. And if you can call some of that news, it was more like influenced advertising or something coming through news outlets. But now we have lots of news of the new administration, and whether you support them or not, it doesn't matter. It's a lot of news and a lot of change and a lot of stuff happening, and that could be overwhelming to try to keep up with or even navigate and pay attention and understand. And then, we have a decent amount of change potentially expected inside tax and other accounting areas. So you may be tuned into that news, and there's just bad things happen, and we all have to hear about them a lot and see videos, and the plane crash in DC, which we are so sad about, um, and Amy and I both fly a lot, and I fly regional jets all the time out of Omaha, Nebraska. You could just be overwhelmed with that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it take a lot of time and a lot of energy and make you scared or make you stressed. And so manage that. Limit your news time. Go get news from sources. Intentionally get it. Don't let it be given to you. Don't go down a rat hole with it. Avoid doom scrolling and all that business. It's not healthy. It won't help you. So that's what.
I have a good suggestion for that one. So, probably in 2019, I think it was in 2019, 2018, I attended a mindfulness conference. And, the political environment was just as in turmoil as it is today, right? And people get very defensive, whatever side that they're on, and hard to have conversations, which also can create stress in the workplace or even at home if you're on opposite sides of things. And like Jem was talking about, social media has algorithms that's just going to feed you what you believe. And so there were two people that presented at this conference. One was a Democrat, one was a Republican, and they created a news source, and I'm going to put it in the comments, and it's called All Sides. And the reason that this was created was really so that what happens is that you see all the feeds of all the news sources, and you can see where the actual through line and where there wasn't any opinion put into it, where you could actually see what the actual story is without news opinion on top of it. And so this is a great way to kind of alleviate that. Where do I get my news source? Where do I get information? And try to understand maybe different points of view as well, so that you can better address it in conversation without feeling emotional or overwhelmed by the conversation too. So that's another area that can help. So really with that, besides what's happening in the outside world, there's things happening in our work world coming up where we've got to get ourselves organized the best that we can in how we work and how we move forward. And this is really the time to be intentional. And you can think that working more hours brings you more productivity, but there's actually no research or proof of that. Our brains can only handle so much without taking breaks, without making sure that we're doing other things to shift our mind so that it can focus and monotask on one thing at a time. And so really creating in the beginning, like just to start with, a priority list. I have been with people even this week over and over where you have a to-do list and you've got all these tasks on your to-do list, but you really haven't prioritized it. And then you open your email and you start taking care of those things over the list that you already had. And you're not really clear at the end of the day what you actually accomplished and what you actually worked on. And so really, as a skill, a life skill, it's really important to have some sort of morning ritual or end of the day ritual, depending on where your energy is. Maybe you have better energy at the end of the day to do this or the beginning of the day, but really to kind of clear your mind for the day, but also look at what are the things coming up today? What are the meetings? What are the things on your to-do list? And what are the 1 to 3 most important things you absolutely have to get done today, like non-negotiable? And looking at your day and clearing space. If there's a meeting that's not a priority, can a meeting be moved so that you can create space to get done what you need to get done? And so it can feel overwhelming when you don't do those things. But when you have better control, when you're actually steering the ship better for the day, you can at least feel like it's something you've accomplished today. The other thing I just want to say about it is that I know a lot of us are type A personalities and we want to get as much done as we can get done. But it's really important that we don't think we have to get everything on our to-do list done at the end of the day. That we're really clear on what things are most important and then what can be shifted to tomorrow, to next week, to 2 weeks from now, and utilizing our communication skills to let people know when to expect things to take that pressure off. What I often find is most of the time when I have pressure internally or I hear someone else have pressure, we actually haven't just asked the person, does this need to be done right now? Or could I do it next week? And that is an easy question to ask. And it's like, oh, it can be next week. Okay, I can shift something and they're okay. But often we are creating the communication in our head, but not actually speaking it out our mouths in order to alleviate some of that stress for ourselves.
It's almost false news. Sorry, I had some background noise and I muted, but it's almost fake news to ourselves, you know. Can you hear me, Amy?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, your mouth was moving, so I thought you were talking. So anyway, we're having technical challenges here, but you know, I think that we're like lying to self. My whole list has to be done, or these are, you know, like I know that it is a common challenge that we have with overwhelmed people, with people trying to manage mental health, is running their list and acting like it's all the same. So I love that strategy of top 2 or 3 things I have to do today, be unstoppable in those things, consider that a win, know that the rest will carry to tomorrow, renegotiating. I love all of those strategies. Something else on mental health is, you know, and it's in that same sorting and selecting kind of mode, is really doing something called a keep, stop, start, and doing it for your job. Sometimes our roles grow to be so large because we've said so many yeses.
Yeah.
That there's stuff that literally sits on our plate. It is important. People do want it done at some point, but the volume and velocity of what we've said yes to is too great for any human. It's a 1.5 or a two times job. It's not a normal job anymore. It's bloated, and you have to trim it. And people will respect you for doing the analysis and coming and saying to your leaders, hey, I have determined, you know, some things in my role that I feel like I need to stop doing. I need to right size my role, because oftentimes part of our mental health is a feeling of being stuck. And, you know, when we're feeling burnt out or overwhelmed or stressed, it's, I'm stuck with all this stuff, burden and obligation. We're running burden and obligation, and feeling victimized, like somebody else is making us do it or something. And so taking matters into your own hand and analyzing your position, your role, your duties, your responsibilities, your client load, your deliverables, your internal commitments, your, you know, whatever, volunteer commitments, and writing down, here's all the stuff I'm going to keep doing because I love it and because it's the right, highest and best use for my skill set. Here's some stuff I need to stop doing. And then here are some things that if I made a little room in life, I would start doing. And really concentrating on starting to work on the stops. And you don't have to stop all the stuff at once. You know, you can literally like stop at one stop a week, you know, where I'm going to transition this week, and I'm going to say, you know, quit this, you know, resign from this thing that I've been doing on the next week. And just, it's kind of like cleaning your closet out. It's a little bit like that. Your job is like your closet, and it's stuffed full of things that you've brought into it, but we don't bring much out. And most of the stuff we keep, someone else could do, and it might be fun for them. It might be a stretch for them. So that's another mental health strategy, and not just in your role at work, but you can do it for your whole life. You know, like the certain exercise classes or forms of exercise or groups you belong to for that. Maybe, you know, you feel pulled in a lot of different directions there, and you say, well, I'm just going to skinny that down to a couple of commitments, or, social commitments, volunteer in our personal lives, just all those yeses that we've said. How many things could we give up to create space for more rest, to create space for, the things that do give us peace and joy?
Yeah. I think too is understanding why we're uncomfortable to say no sometimes.
Yes.
In order to be able to get past the next time someone asks you to do something. So, and it's just interesting, like one of the examples you just used, we were going through this exercise with a group and realized like how many charitable things this person did, and realized next year, like for 2025, the goal was to not do as many charitable things, that it was taking up a lot of their time, even though it's fulfilling and it's something that mattered to them. If you're not showing up with full energy, full capacity for that thing, and feeling like now even the community event or charitable event is taking away from time from your family, you're going to show up in ways you don't really want to show up. If you're at work and every time someone asks you to do something, you say yes, instead of really analyzing, can I say yes? And if not, I don't have to be involved with as many things at work. I can get involved with, strategically a couple committees, making sure I have time for my work, but also time for coaching. And where do I put that time in my day so that I can feel okay about how my day's going and not feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes this overwhelm are things that we create, like you said, like we're saying yes to too many things, but getting behind the why of why you're saying yes to too many things is really important, because if at the end of the day you're a people pleaser and it's very hard for you to say no, then you're going to have to think about what is the energy that you have to create in your body to say no. So am I going to have to create a mantra for myself to say, I'm going to show up better by saying no, that this is actually a gift to my family, a gift to myself, whatever you've got to tell yourself, so that you can get past that fact of, I don't have to do this, and no one's going to hate me because I'm not doing it. And if I put it in the right place, it will help me as well. So just making sure that you've mentally prepared yourself prior to looking at this, and making sure that you can feel okay in those moments where you might have to say no.
I love that. One of my mantras that I, forget about and have to drag off the ground and dust off and try to use again is, no more burden and obligation.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't come at your yeses from like the power of intention and commitment and some level of enthusiasm, then you shouldn't be doing them. You don't always have to be whistle while we work or whatever all the time, but you can't just be dragging your knuckles on the ground, feeling totally victim to these burdens and obligations that you've committed to. So for me, that's a really good place for me to center my energy in a no, is to say, I can't say yes to this, or I have to quit this, because every time I go to work on it or do it, I have a burden and obligation conversation. There isn't anything like, there's no power in this. So that's another way to look at it, is, does this thing both give me power, and am I able to give it power? And if I can't, and it's just, I'm phoning it in, I'm spread thin like peanut butter, everybody's getting a C job from me, not a B plus or an A job, then that's the energy. That's the mindset. I want to give A's to the stuff I am doing, not a bunch of like sad C grade quality work while I'm doing it. And so that helps me, because I'm a people pleaser and I'm a yes person. And I also want to help. I'm a helper, I'm a giver. So it's hard to say, nope, I'm not giving you that help. That is a hard message, but it's a little bit like, another visual you could muster perhaps is, I shouldn't probably invite you into my lifeboat so I could help you while I'm bailing water. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I'm not really giving you the help I would like to. So, no, not at this time. And that's the other thing. You don't have to say no, never,
Yeah.
unless it really is totally not you. You're not going to faint.
Yes.
But it's no, not now. No,
Hmm.
not now. And you don't have to say, no, I'm too busy. You can say, the timing isn't right for me. Please consider me again a year from now. Please come back to me, but not now. You don't have to
Yeah.
tell a big story. Just the timing isn't right for me. Boom.
Yeah.
And most people are used to getting no's when they have volunteer asks or big gnarly thing asks. They're used to a no. They can handle it. They're adults. And I think we just have to realize that most people would rather have an authentic, powerful, meaningful yes than a half-hearted no. I mean, vice versa. They'd rather
Yeah.
not have that half-hearted yes and then have half-hearted help.
Yeah, exactly. They want someone that can really be proactive.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I hope this has given you some food for thought, going into your next week of really trying to create a plan, for yourself to be intentional and make sure that you stay healthy, mind and body, during these upcoming months, and finding ways to clear any kind of stressful things that you identify so that you can have the energy that you want in your body and for the people around you. So thank you, Jen, so much,
Yes, you too.
and we'll see you again in a week.